trying to move abroad as a retiree or a family, you have been told repeatedly that you must go on a scouting trip. What I'm telling you today, you don't have to. You don't have to. And I'm going to tell you why I say that. So keep watching. There are many reasons why someone may choose not to go on a scouting trip. And towards the end of the video, I'll tell you why it is recommended that you go on a scouting trip, maybe more than one. But right now, I'm going to tell you some of the reasons why you may not want to, or you may not be able to go on a scouting trip. All right, so get ready. If this is your first time seeing me on video, my name is Maggie. I am a retired nurse practitioner, and I'm retired here in the beautiful country of Panama since January 2023. I am coming on my third anniversary, and I am still enamored with this country. Beautiful, I'm grateful, I feel at peace. I love being here. And you hear us, those of us who are here, saying Panama is not for everybody, but it's good for me. I am also the creator of SWRA, Single Women Retiring Abroad, a group of older ladies who have decided to spend the rest of our days here, creating sisterhood, living our best life while we reinvent ourselves. We ultimately want to recreate a model of aging abroad that is sustainable and affordable. If any of this sounds of interest to you, I invite you to like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel for more of the same type of videos. Also, click that little bell so you are aware when I go live or when I put out a new video. Let's get into it. I might be looking down in my notes because I don't want this video to be long. One of the reasons why you may not be able to go on a scouting trip, and then towards the end also will describe to you, for you, what it is. What is a scouting trip? If you go, when I was doing research for this, you put scouting, you know what comes up? Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. So there isn't a whole lot of information about it. But I know I hear my fellow YouTubers telling you, you must go on a scouting trip, and these are the things that you need to do on a scouting trip. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just giving you another option today. One of the reasons why you may not go on a scouting trip is because you're in a time crunch, right? With everything that is going on around you right now, wherever you are, and you know who I'm talking to, the craziness, the uncertainty, it's affecting your health, your mental health, your anxiety level is like this. And we've always been a bit living, in a state of constant stress. And you know what I mean? But now it's like upped and you just like anxious and you telling yourself, I don't think I can take it. I need to get out of here. So if that is your situation, you don't have the luxury of taking a scouting trip. It's like time is of the essence. Your health, your life, you feel like your life depends on you changing your environment. And I've also given you the option of taking a sabbatical before. Well, maybe that isn't an option for you. You're like, I need to go. I need to go. So once you get that mindset and you make up your mind, then who has time to go on 1, 2, 3 scouting trips? So that's you. That's the first reason why you might not be able to go on a scouting trip. And you don't have to, because you need to get out. The second reason is maybe financial constraints. Every time you book a trip, you have round trip tickets, you have lodging, you have food, you have transportation, the travel insurance that we recommend, and other incidentals. It adds up, sis. And if you're doing a budget for this relocation, 2, 3 scouting trips, you may not be in a position to do that, especially if you're one of my sisters on fixed income with limited Social Security is not that much. You maybe have a little pension or not. People like me don't have pensions, and you're like, I can't afford it. I can't afford a scouting trip, but I know I need to get out. So that is your reason number two. Reason number three could be that you are somebody who's well traveled. Maybe you've lived abroad for an extended period of time and you feel like I can do it. I don't need to go see. I can figure it out as I go. Are you that kind of person? If you are, you may not need to go on a scouting trip. And trust me, sis, we have sisters here who have come here to Panama. I'm not talking about anywhere else because that's where I am. Sight unseen, pack their bags, bring their pets, and say, I'm out of here. A little bit further on, I'm going to tell you about some risks of upping and going without seeing first. But let's say you were a missionary kid. Right. Is it MK? I thought it was PK. Oh, PK, preacher's kids. If you were a pre-K, a PK, I apologize. If you were a PK and your parents have moved from here to there, I'm still in my gym clothes, so I apologize, you guys. Don't send me any messages about my clothing, okay? All right, be nice. If you've been around and you used to just up and go and you've been, how preachers' kids are, also if your family was in the service in the Marine or whatever, the armed forces, and you keep changing. So you're used to being in a new environment. And as an adult, you're like, I got this. I can do this. Okay, that's fine. Number three would be, is it number four? Fine. Being you have to go, financial constraints, you've traveled, that was number three. Number four, your personality is that of a troubleshooter. Whatever the situation is, you can figure it out. I'm a bit like that. I don't know if I could go somewhere sight unseen, but I am a troubleshooter. Are you a troubleshooter? If you get into a new land, are you able to figure it out? Get your footing. That's a good skill to have. And if you're that kind of person, you may not need to go on a scouting trip. All right? You're a self-starter. Are you also an independent thinker? Another trait that you might have that would be a plus, and I would just say check, if you have that, you may not need to go on a scouting trip, is that you are able to find information. Have you ever met someone who wants you to just spoon feed them information? I have them, and they ask you for every little thing. And then you ask, did you do any research? Because if you're not going to go on a scouting trip, I assume that you doing ton of research, right? Because you got to make it up somewhere. So you're able to access information. You don't need people to spoon feed you everything. And the other side of the coin is that you can reach out to people, the right people, to find information. Okay? So those are the traits that, in these circumstances, that if that is your situation, you don't need to go on a scouting trip. You have to get out. You have to get out. Financially, let's say another reason could be your house, your lease is coming up. Well, you don't have anywhere else to go. So you may have to leave, right? Financially, you may not be able to afford all these scouting trips and incidentals that happen, that pile up. And in another video, I told you that if you are in a situation where you just have to go, and let's say you're in debt, and I used to tell you, you need to get rid of the debt first. And in another previous video, because times are changing, it's like make plans to repay the debt. So we're shifting. And I did another video about shifting. You have to be able to shift your mindset. So it could be also that in your mind, you were like, I'm going to go check it out 2 or 3 times. And then we are here now. where it's like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. So, sis, if you're in a time crunch, you have financial pressures, you have traveled and you feel like you can troubleshoot and find your way, you preacher's kid, your family was in the armed forces and you're able to go to a place, make new friends, and not be totally out of your element, but being able to adjust, you're good. You're able to find information. You're able to access information from sources and from people. So you're in a good position. All right, having said that, are you still following? So I'm trying to assuage your fear and your guilt. I'm trying to, as I always do, get you to look at yourself, the kind of person you are, your situation, and say, can I make it work based on A, B, C, D? You know I'm logical. Don't look at emotions only. Don't just say, I gotta get out. Stop, stop, stop. Yes, you have to get out, but can you? Is it safe? Can you make it work? Take the time to do that, sis. That's that self-analysis that is so vital. So let's assume you decided, oh, Maggie said, based on blah, 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 I can do it. Don't say Maggie said. What are the risks of you not going on a scouting trip? All right. The unknown. Yes, you may have been a PK, preacher's kid. Your parents might have changed and traveled a lot, but how has that affected you? Have you adjusted pretty well? Or do you have the anxiety every time you go that has been building up? And you know, you meet people who are they're loners, they don't make friends very easy, and they're very aloof because they remember their life as a kid. Can you imagine? I always feel sorry for the kids whose parents kept changing environment every 2, 3 years. You got to put the kid in a new school and they have to make new friends and the bullying. How has that affected you as an adult? Mm, you got to think about that, sis. Because again, not only are you going to be by yourself, you're going to be in new environment. You don't know how things are done. And if you get into trouble, mentally, anxiety, depression, do you know how to access help? Or are you still harboring this? I'm protecting myself. I don't want to open myself to anybody because I don't want to get hurt. The unknown can be scary, sis. That is a risk, especially if you're still harboring those feelings from childhood that I don't want to open myself up. You're going to be a loner in a new country, in a strange country. The risks of the unknown. And that's one of the reasons that could cause someone to pack up and go. But in this current situation, you can't go back, can you? Go back to what? If you sold your home, your possessions. That's what I used to see when I was on these Facebook group, in those groups from Africa, Ghana, for example, people selling everything and go. And then it doesn't work out. You run out of money, and then you have to kind of go back with your tail between your legs, and you're going to beg a cousin or somebody to crash into their home. Ooh, that's major. I don't know how you feel about that, but that would scare me to death. So the risk of the unknown and everything that could happen with it, you are totally unaware about the things that you need to do to get settled, getting an apartment. Here in Panama recently, we're having people having a hard time finding an apartment. I never thought I would see that. And when I used to tell people, it's like, don't come on these relocation tours and then book, pay, like sign a lease for an apartment, and then you go back and it might be 4, 5, 6 months before you return. You still have to pay your rent. And we just talked about the financial pressures that you may not be in a position to do that. So finding an apartment, getting yourself situated. So hopefully you know how to access information. You would reach out to someone like myself. Are you stingy and not willing to pay for a relocation call, a consultation call? I have people, and I think Mary Goff was talking about that the other day in her video. People come and they want to come and buy you lunch, and then they're just sucking all the information out of you, but they're not willing to pay $50, $100 to pick your brain. That's not nice. That's stingy. That should be part of your budget. To talk to somebody on the ground. I watched this guy from Mexico also yesterday talk about how people get information that is inaccurate about the place that they're looking to relocate to. Talk to people on the ground. And even then, sometime in the Facebook groups, you see divergent information. Somebody would say this one, that one totally disagrees, and they're here together. Perception. Everybody's situation is different, sis. So accessing information, the how-tos of how you get yourself settled. How about knowing what to do in emergency? Do you even know if they have 911, and what does that mean? You need to find out what I said about 911 in my video that I did from the live on Saturday. If you have an emergency, not all 911s are created equal. It's not the same here in Panama. So you just gonna be at a deficit in terms of information and the how to. Those are the risks of not doing a scouting trip. You opening yourself to getting scammed. Yes, because there are scams, especially in rental properties. People have been denied their deposit. People find things in an apartment that they rent, and then the owner is saying, nope, we're not doing that. And if you leave, you're not getting any of your money back. Scamming, scamming. I don't know of any other scams, but I'm sure they are. Keep your credit cards close. But as beautiful as Panama is, because so many of us are coming here, it is opening the door to more scamming. I hear about scamming about cars, renting cars, or buying cars. I don't buy a car, so I'm not aware of the details. I just read about it. So by the time you get to the airport, they look at you, you're a foreigner, you might get scammed in terms of how much they charge you, the taxi to take you from point A to point B. If you hire a driver, somebody that you don't know, that can take you for a ride because you haven't made the connections for you to know the how-tos. The risk of loneliness. Loneliness at home is one thing. Loneliness abroad is a whole different bull of wax. I think it would be really difficult to be dealing with anxiety, depression, loneliness in a place that is unfamiliar. What do? You go to the bar and start drinking? Do you know the rules of the country, the laws? You might end up in jail. This lady was in jail in Mexico somewhere because she ended up in a car accident, didn't know the rules. It's not the same thing. You have to find out information, and it takes time. But now you don't have time because you didn't take a scouting trip. All right. Now you're going to have a delayed onboarding and transition, right? If you took your scouting trip, you already talked to real estate agent, you started your visa processing, you've made contacts on the ground, you know people say the driver told me where to get my hair done, my nails done, someone to take you to get your telephone, your cable. It's going to take you a longer time because now you landed with all your bags and you in this, I guess, hotel, which I'm telling you, you should be an Airbnb, but you know how it is. You tell folks what to do and they still go and do what they want, which is fine. But just don't come back to me and say, oh, Maggie, We're not dealing with children here. You're a grown woman, person. All right? So you got all this that could be a risk for you. What if something happens to you here? What if you get sick? Do you have the support system? And you just landed here like a, I don't know, a UFO. Those are the risks of not coming on a scouting trip. The scouting trip is not just to look around and smell, it's about connection and getting information. So now that takes me into what is a scouting trip and why we recommend it. All right, if you're enjoying this conversation, remember to like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel, por favor. A scouting trip, if you were to look it under Merriam-Webster or whatever, it would say it's a fact finding. It's like looking for information. And of course, I'm telling you, when I put scouting, it shows the Boy Scouts, how they set up their tents and stuff, not that kind of scouting. No. You want to find information. I tell you that when you are coming to visit, you know my story. I came to visit Panama in 2019. But when I went to Africa, Africa didn't work out. When I came back, that was a scouting trip. I didn't call it that, but it was, let me go back and see if I still like it. And what do I like about it? And I had my pad and I kept taking notes. Oh, I like this. Oh, I don't like this that much. And you do your list of love, like, do not like, like trash would be one of them. But you are like an Inspector Gadget with your microscope. You're like, oh, okay. And it takes time for you to walk through a neighborhood. And I always talk about that connection, that vibration. I call it. It's like I sit there in a fonda and I sit and while I'm eating my sancocho, I'm watching people. The other day I heard this woman who was visiting from the DR, and I think I mentioned that in another video. She said, I haven't met one unhappy Panamanian. But if you're not here and you're not breaking bread with these folks, you're not going to realize it. You're not going to on the metro and see how they behave on the metro, on the buses, in the store. How do they interact with each other? I remember I was here for a few months and then a friend and I went to an event and then two guys were in a scuffle and we're like, wow, this is the first time we've seen somebody unhappy with each other because we don't. And the example I give is like my bus, I was on the bus, we rented a car and then they took their time to get their information, their paperwork. And then the guy come onto the bus and he started joking with the driver. He wasn't upset that he got hit. And to me, that was like, what is this? There's no road rage here, but you have to be here to see it. And it's not one day. You have to see it repeated, and then you realize it is a lifestyle. It is a pattern. All right. So you're here to look at neighborhoods. We tell you, call Daniel, the fixer that I know. He's going to take you to different neighborhoods. He'll pick you up from the airport. And then because he's a local, he speaks English, he'll be telling you the different flavors about different neighborhoods. You get out of his car and you walk around. You go to restaurants, you find the pharmacies, you find the food stores, walk around, smell, touch, feel. That's what scouting is. And when you're scouting too, you're talking to the attorney. You go in to see a doctor. Sometimes you get into a hospital, you can get a tour. Go to the malls, go to the market, go to the fruteria where you can get your fruits and vegetables. Walk the neighborhood and see if you kind of miss a few times that just like, oh, I got to watch where I'm going. Yes. Come at different times. We have the dry season, the rainy season. People talk about the heat. Yes, but the heat is different in rainy season than it is in dry season. Can you take it? I just spoke to her sister today. She's like, oh, I think I'm going to go to Mexico. It's just way too hot here. Mexico has the privilege of having different climates. We have different climates too. I don't know if the sister knows that. The higher you go, the cooler. Panama has multi-climates. So if you're in the city and the city bothers you so much that you can go to the mountain, we have that. but then you're missing out on the activities and everything that's happening in the city. I prefer to stay in the city. That's my personal choice. And after you do 1 or 2, 3 scouting trips, you decide where your sweet spot is. So the scouting trip helps you make the right decision and reduces the likelihood that you're going to be spending money because, oh, I don't like this apartment. I'm going to go somewhere else. Every time you move, you got to come up with a deposit and a first month. And if you break any leases, you don't get your deposit. It adds up, sis. All right. So you are at risk if you don't do a scouting trip. But if it is a life and death situation, if your mental health is at a breaking point, sis, it's okay. You don't have to do a scouting trip, but just get in with your eyes open. Realize the delay in your onboarding, in your transition. And it's okay. You're retired, hopefully. So you have time. You don't need to be in a rush. You don't have to have things done. You know, I'm a list person, but I'm very flexible. Didn't get it done this week, I'll move it to this date. Relax. People tell you they come to the airport here and all of a sudden their anxiety and their stress level goes down. Enjoy it. Embrace it, sis. All right. So this is what I had for you today. I want you to feel at peace that if your situation is such that you cannot afford to make a scouting trip or you don't have time to make a scouting trip, that you feel like, I remember I was in a position at one time, I'm like, if I don't do something, I'm going to have a stroke, right? So make that decision and be able to shift, embrace the new reality and make it work for you. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This was Educate, educate yourself, and I will see you in the next video. Au revoir, à la prochaine. Bye bye.